On this week's episode, we talk about AI photos, how to get back to dating when you've taken a break, and I reveal my ultimate confidence mantra. Welcome to the Ask a Matchmaker hotline. I'm your host, Matchmaker Maria, and welcome to a solo hotline episode. I have not done one of these since, I want to say 2022. So maybe 2021. I have to look back. It feels weird facing you, listener, and not really having your facial expressions giving me feedback back. But here we are. We're going to do it. And it's a day before Valentine's Day, which, hey, this is your episode. A matchmaker this week. You'd say I'm one in a million, but I'm really one of 600. And if you are looking for a matchmaker, you can join our database, or you can join a matchmaker in your region's database and have a consultation. That's as much of a shout out I'm going to give to my entire industry. Let's get your questions, because this is a hotline episode and I am here to give you relief to your dating and relationship dilemmas. Let's take our first call. Welcome to the Ask a Matchmaker hotline. How can I help you?
Hi, Maria. Thanks for taking my question. Might not be a traditional question you would expect for an episode like this, but I've been doing a lot of reading and investigating around the topic of generative AI lately for my job. And one thing I've noticed a lot of people doing on LinkedIn is they're using generative AI tools to create new professional headshots.
Right.
Which led me to think, are people starting to do this for their dating profiles?
Yeah.
And I just wondered, if so, what you thought of that.
I love your question, because I was just thinking about this the other day. So for anyone who's not close with me, I got a personal assistant for my birthday a month and a half ago. Yes, I needed one. And I have had her do my LinkedIn over. It's like the one social media site that I don't understand. So I was like, hey, you get to learn LinkedIn and you get to pretend to be me, and doing it. But as we were kind of going through a little bit of the training, I noticed that a lot of the photos that I'm seeing look like AI-ish, like it's clearly them plus a little bit of a flair, right? You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
And
exactly.
Yeah. And then it would really made me think oh God, this is going to appear in online dating. I can just tell. And what's funny is as a matchmaker, I am no stranger to these photos either. Not AI photos, but just photos with flair, right? Sometimes someone will join our database, which again, the only people who can view your profile or your photo is me and my team. It's not an online dating site. We're not publishing it, but I can see the photos you've attached. And sometimes the photos are so over filtered that we can tell it's been filtered, or it's filtered. And then when we do our consultation to see if you're an actual match for the client that we're currently vetting for, I'm like, you don't look like this photo. Where is this from? And it's I used AI. And so what do I think about it being online? I think that if you don't want to be seen as a scam artist or too good to be true, or have people swipe left on you because they think you're a catfish, you should not be doing stuff like that. In fact, I think Gen Z has the secret. You know how they do all those blurry photos, or now they're using some, I keep getting TikTok ads from Gen Z that's buying digital cameras, that kind of quality. I think you actually might see the opposite online. At least this is my feeling. And I'm going to, maybe the next time I have a conversation with the Tinder people, we can talk about it, which is are we reverting back to lo-fi, low-tech photos online to seem more authentic? Even in the last 2 online dating profile reviews that I put up on my social media, I did select photos that looked a little bit more lo-fi, I don't want to say blurry quality or dark quality, but definitely not, glossy, every day. And I think you will see your behavior rewarded in this positive way to do that. And I think the reason why they might be doing the LinkedIn photos like that is because a lot of people, because they work from home, maybe they don't have that business casual look at home. Maybe they only have t-shirts, some men don't have collared shirts that they would take a photo with. And then also the opportunity to take photos for your LinkedIn profile. Your LinkedIn profile is usually going to be a photo that could look like a corporate bio photo, right? And if you think about, not everyone has access to a photographer or a studio to go do that right now, or they've never thought about it. This is just an easier way. Oh, I can just pay $50 instead of paying $400. And, it makes me look the way I think I want to look versus what I actually look like. And usually the people that I meet are over Zoom. So why does it even matter? And I think it's natural for LinkedIn to have that. But I think on online dating, I say this as a person in the dating industry, I think we are going to see lo-fi have an increase. I think though AI is helping people write their bios better, but you still have to be in it. You still have to be you.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you so much. I was just really curious.
Oh no, it was a really great question. I love that. Let's take our next caller. Thank you for calling the Ask a Matchmaker hotline. How can I help you?
Hi, Maria. This is Rose. Thank you for taking my questions. I was curious I'm trying not to be beat down with Valentine's Day around the corner, but how to stay positive and how to communicate through all these people on the apps, how to communicate better with them.
So let's start with your first question. When you say stay positive, just generally, or is this week kind of bringing it down?
Just generally, I'm kind of in between things with work and not feeling like I have a lot to bring to the table.
What do you mean you don't have a lot to bring to the table? What makes you unique? Don't tell me about your job, but what makes you uniquely you?
I really like to go out and have fun and go to concerts, go to musicals, or I'll go to a museum.
Okay.
Outdoorsy.
So what do you do on a typical weekend?
Well, right now, if I don't have anyone to spend it with, I usually just go spend time with my family, hang out with my nieces and nephews.
Okay.
We play outside.
Do they live near you?
They do.
Okay. All right. And so you're super auntie. That's what I've gotten so far from what you've told me. And what sort of bucket list hobbies do you hope to participate in before you die?
Good question.
There's a reason why I'm asking you all these questions, by the way, right?
Always. I guess learn to ski or snowboard.
Okay. That's a good one. Anything else?
I'd like to go horseback riding again.
Ooh, you used to horseback ride?
When I was a kid, yeah.
Oh, and you want to do it again?
I would love to.
How about anything else?
I love traveling. I really want to venture around more.
When you travel, what sort of activities do you typically like to participate when you travel?
More hiking and exploring the area, tasting the foods of the culture or the area, things like that.
Do you usually travel centered around an event or a festival?
Not always, but sometimes. I do enjoy a brewery festival or some kind of tasting.
Okay. How about when you travel, how often do you travel? And when I say travel, I don't mean that one international trip that you do every other year. I'm talking about when do you go away for a weekend that it's at least 3 nights? How often does that happen?
Not too often, maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay. So not enough.
Not enough.
Right. And then let's see, what else could I ask you? I'm trying to think of other things that you can have as hobbies, and maybe I'll insert some things that I've thought about and see if you would want to do. So let me think. I would really like to learn. I'm trying to think. What do I want to learn? Do you have anything, Alex? Is there any hobbies you have as a bucket list item? Yeah, I'm going to include my producer in this now. What bucket list hobbies do you have? Do you have any?
I think it's called heli-skiing.
What's that?
They take you on a helicopter high in the mountain, and you take a different path down than a normal ski course.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Do you know how to ski?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really awesome as a bucket list item.
Yeah,
Way to
that's a
go.
great bucket list item. I'm trying to think now, like, of mine. Like, I know I would really like to visit. I'd really like to go to a wedding in India. That's like a bucket list item for me. And maybe that's why I have such an affinity for my South Asian clients, because I'm like, please, like, not only do I want you to get married, like, invite me to something in India. Because I did go to India in 2019 for a conference. I went to Chennai for like a week and a half or whatever. And that was like a lot of fun. But I kept thinking, I was there for a conference. And I was like, man, I wish I was here for like something else, like a party, not for work. So that's a bucket list item for me. And anyway, so the reason why I say this is because, and another bucket list item is, or at least a travel idea, for instance, is I used to have a client who all of his travels centered around an event, and more specifically like Formula One events. So he would go to, Rio de Janeiro, he'd go to Qatar, he'd go to Monaco, all these places, but he would be traveling around, but then, 2-3 days Formula One events, and then he would depart. And I mention this because I think sometimes when we feel down, we get into this idea of like, well, I'm not meeting someone, but also like, who wants to date me? And what I'm trying to tell you is that there is a way to convey your uniqueness by starting to, one, use the vocabulary of what makes you unique. But also, I'm showing you right now that you actually have a lot of interests. And you shouldn't be waiting to live those interests, because in those interests, you're going to find opportunities. So let's talk about some of the things you mentioned, right? You talked about how you want to ski and snowboard more, right? You talked about horseback riding. There are currently group events. I don't know which mountain is closest to where you live, but there are, there's always group travel to, places that nearby where you can go skiing and snowboarding. I'm sure there's an equestrian club in the region that you live in, where, you can go and participate in events or volunteer if there's like a polo club, or if there is, maybe even teaching, teaching, like maybe you can go and learn how to help children be equestrians. So there's all these little opportunities that exist within your hobbies. You mentioned before when you were talking about yourself that like, well, since I don't have anyone, I just go back to my family and I spend time with my family. And, no hate to your family, but you can do that. But I would rather 3 out of your 4 weekends be dedicated to you doing fun things for your life, and your parents and your niece and your siblings, or niece or nephews and siblings, like they come a little bit second right now, because we're going to prioritize you to put you in those places of opportunity. So before I mentioned, for instance, does your travel center around anything? And you said no. And I would advise you that, like, if it's a brewery, you mentioned before, like a brewery festival, that's actually a really great place to meet people and also just interact with new people, make new friends. I would also add, the other day I was looking for a friend of mine. She was saying, she wants to do something on the weekends and she can't find anything. And I was like, well, there's this website that has medieval festivals. So like people who cosplay medieval times, there's like festivals around the country, and you can go to that and meet people who just want to be creative and fun and light for a day. And that is a really unique place, not only just to meet people and make new friends, but like a unique place for you to discover who you are. Because I don't like that we kind of came into this conversation saying like, well, I don't really do anything on the weekends because I don't have anyone. You don't need to have someone to do things.
Right. Now, those are all great suggestions. Thank you.
Yeah. But what was the second part of your question? Do you remember it?
Kind of like how to communicate with people on the apps. Like
Right.
I find I try to, not do the whole like interview, like, what do you do for fun? What do you do this? And like on my profile, I have a lot of information. Like I don't just put pictures, I try
Right.
to use the prompt and try to use them positively. And
Yeah.
I actually use a lot of emojis to like show my interests. And I just can't get anyone to like say anything. Like no one says anything about my profile. And I'm like, do people even read them?
Are you saying that your problem is not getting people messaging you?
Yeah. Like either people don't have the notifications on, or if they do, like I try to bring your tools to the table.
Okay.
And I don't feel like many other people have those tools, so I'm
Yeah.
trying to weigh the odds.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible out there. What app are you using?
I have Hinge right now, and I've also tried like the Facebook dating.
What region do you live in that you're using Facebook dating?
I live in Michigan.
Okay. How is that?
It's not been so great.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if I would use Facebook dating. I would certainly use Hinge and Tinder because I always tell people to use 2 dating apps, and I think those 2 could be really good here. Listen, Alex, that voice you hear before, he met his fiance through Tinder, so I don't knock it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't think you didn't have that filled out either of like your intent. You guys just
No.
went into it open, like whatever, we're just meeting up, see what happens. And I think that's what we have to do here is if you are on Hinge or Tinder, you have to kind of message into like, hey, your profile, like you don't have to get people to message you. You can message people and hopefully they reply, but there is this conversion, right? I would love if maybe in a different episode, or maybe you can email me separately where you send me your profile. But like what I would love to see is that like your first photo, you're looking into the camera, smiling, and it's in color, right? And that has to pop, that has to stand out because that's what we're talking about, right? When it comes to straight men looking at online dating profiles, where I think like it's like 4 swipes a second, like they're running through it. Right? It's only when you match do they go back and then maybe they read the whole profile. And if they still like you, they'll keep the match. Otherwise, they'll unmatch you. What is the age range that you're dating in?
I've dated, I am 37 and I have dated.
You need to get rid of all the emojis. Get rid of all the emojis because I'm telling you, guys in that age range, they're looking at this and like, this person's not serious unless you're a bubbly person and that guy's looking for a bubbly person. But are you a bubbly person? I don't know.
I mean, I'm shy, but I'm bubbly once you get to know me.
Do you use the prompt 2 truths and a lie?
I don't believe so.
You should. That's like, as much as some people say, like there will be men all the time who are like, I hate this prompt. And I go, and yet every single time y'all comment on it, it is the most popular prompt that men will respond to because, you know, men like a little competition. They like a little quiz. They like a little test. So I would put 2 truths and a lie. And in those truths, just from the limited stuff that I know about you, I would say stuff like, you know, I used to ride horses as a kid. I am, you know, what's called, I like to hit the slopes. So we know these are 2 truths. And then the lie it could be, you know, I'm planning on going on a Formula 1 vacation.
Yeah, I get it.
One of those is a lie. The Formula 1 actually sounds like pretty good. It actually sounds true because people actually do that now. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it all has to be truth adjacent is what I'm trying to say. Like I recently did a profile review for someone, right? And she had just discovered, or I don't know if this is as accurate as I want it to be, but she had just discovered that she had cousins in Peru, right? So she was planning going to Peru for the first time this year. And I said, when you do truths and a lie, you know, her truths were, I love going to music festivals. I forget the other one was, I love going to music festivals. I tutor 4th graders in math. And then her lie was, I visit Peru every summer.
Oh, awesome.
Do you see what I'm saying? And like, she plans to go to Peru this year. Like, it's still truth adjacent is what I'm trying to say. And because you're using that prompt, I don't need emojis. I've learned that you go to music festivals. I learned that you give back to your community. And now I'm learning that you're Peruvian.
Right, absolutely.
They're all true, right? But now I have things to kind of like work around with, right? Like I would get rid of the emojis because that's too much. And I would instead focus on like, how can I talk about me without, you know, and making it easy for someone to respond to it.
Right, absolutely.
These are really great questions, and I really appreciate you calling in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking my question.
Absolutely. Thank you. Welcome to the Ask a Matchmaker hotline. How can I help you?
Hi, Maria. Thanks for taking the time. I had a question because I'm recently sort of getting back into the dating scene after a very long hiatus. And things are going pretty well. I had a first date this week and I have another one today. But I guess I just had a question because I am in the process of planning to apply for graduate school. And I mean, it's going to be a while before I go. But it's still in the back of my mind, like, when do I bring this up? Do I bring this up at all? Not necessarily on a first date, but like, how far into dating do I mention the fact that, I will likely be moving from the city that I currently live in?
Okay.
So it's just something I'm starting to think about and want to approach it correctly.
What city? So let's get some background info. What city do you live in?
Los Angeles.
What city is grad school at?
Not sure yet, but most likely not Los Angeles.
But is it in the same state?
It could be up north. Again, this is still early stages, but could be up north, but it could also be on the East Coast.
Okay.
There's several places that I would be applying.
You're applying. Is this for September 2024 or September 2025?
2025.
Dude, it doesn't even matter.
Okay.
Right. And I'm sorry for calling you dude.
No,
girl, it doesn't even matter. No, it really doesn't matter. I would just date in the present. You are not the first person to go to grad school. You certainly aren't the last person to go to grad school. I'm sure anyone that they're dating in your age range or even with your level of ambition, if they're attracted to that, they're going to be used to hearing that as well on dates. Mm-hmm. You don't need to commit to anything on a first or second date, right? So you can talk about it, right, if you want to. And I would get to a place where, I mean, you just said it comfortably to me and I can't even see you, right? So what I'm trying to say is that you can talk about this on a first or second date. Is it necessary to talk about it right now? No, because nothing has happened. This is like telling me I plan to visit Buckingham Palace next year. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because nothing has happened, right? Like you're already putting, you put the carriage before the horse. Yeah. And you're truly doing that here, right? You're putting, you don't even know what grad school you're going into, but we do know it's a year and a half from now. So many things can happen in the next year and a half. I literally had someone on this couch 2 weeks ago tell us that she met someone on August 1st and they were married on January 4th. And that could be you. Yeah. Like there is and it's funny, that episode going out, I didn't realize how many of my clients and listeners have also hard launched a spouse this past year where they dated they were all together less than 6 to 9 months before they got married. And I'm not saying that's going to happen to you. I can appreciate that you're going back into the dating scene. I love that, you took a break and now you're back. And is the date you're going on tonight a second date from the first date or is it another first date?
It's another first.
Excellent. And you can use this opportunity right now to practice, to see what works, right? See how it feels. Now, there's going to be people that don't want you to be ambitious and don't want you to get more educated. And I don't think you should date those people. It's none of their business than what you're doing, right? And then there's going to be other people who hear you say like, oh, I'm actually applying to grad school. And they're going to say stuff like, where do you plan on going? Oh, I'm applying to this place and this place and this place. I think it would just really, it's something I'm really passionate about. People want to see you interact about your passions and like things that interest you. The you moving is a whole, and if someone said, well, how would this work out? Oh, I'm sure if you and I worked out, we could figure it out. And it reminds me of like our best man at me and my husband's wedding. He was a PhD student when I met him, and he was working with my husband in like my husband's lab. And they were in Boston, and his girlfriend and fiance and then wife, she was also in Boston, studying at Harvard Medical School. But then when residency time came, she was sent to Seattle. And you know what? They didn't, it's not like, oh my God, don't apply to Seattle. And I'm sure, every couple has its own difficulties and hard conversations that you have to do. But he was so proud. At least this is my perception from my view was like, he was so proud that his wife got into this incredible residency program for the field that she was in. And, he just needed support from the higher ups at his school to let him do things remotely. And they figured it out. Like eventually, they were doing the long distance for a little bit. And then eventually he was over there. And now they're back in Boston together, right? Like things happen quickly. And that's residency. That's longer than a master's program.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So let's just pretend for a second that you met someone in the next 2 months. So let's say in Q1 of 2024, all right? Let's say you meet someone that you really like by March 31st, 2024. And I hope that happens for you. It seems like you're really motivated. I really do hope you meet someone really special. The conversation goes, and let's pretend for a second I'm a fortune teller. This is how the conversation goes with someone who is intellectually your equal, ambitiously your equal, emotionally your equal. Like, and when I say emotionally your equal, like I'm talking about like their balance, right? Like they don't have to be as ambitious as you, but they have to be supportive of your ambitions. Just like I would hope you're supportive of their ambitions, right? So what I'm saying, he recognizes your drive with his drive, right? So let's just say you met someone March 1st, 2024. Okay. You're going to apply for grad school. Maybe you have to take your GMATs, GREs, whatever. Okay, you're going to do all these things. You're still dating them, right? You're just because now you're dating someone, that doesn't mean you're your boyfriend. But let's pretend now he becomes your boyfriend. Okay, I would hope that you chose him because, he meets you on certain aspects. As you're dating, though, you've already had this conversation. Look, I plan to apply to grad school, right? You don't need their permission. They're not going to, they shouldn't they don't have permission to say to you, oh, I thought by now you would have gotten rid of that ambition. I don't want you moving. No, you set the tone from the beginning. So then what would happen is, let's say you do get in. Well, next September, I mean, even if you met someone in December of this year, you've already been dating 8-9 months, right?
Yeah.
So what could happen is, let's say the program you get into is in Austin, right? Okay, you're going to move away for, let's say grad school's 2 years. Maybe the first 6 months, you are doing a little bit long distance where you only see each other every other weekend, or maybe they work remotely where you are for a little bit, or you can, you have also break. You're not there the whole time. There's like summer break, there's winter break, right? So there's a way to manage it for 6 months for sure. Then maybe they take a remote, like maybe whatever position they have, they can tell their boss like, hey, this is my fiance now. So like now you've already escalated the relationship to something else.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm going to be living here for the next 6 months. So it's like, you can find a way to balance this. It's not, if you met someone, it's not unmanageable. And it's also temporary. Like it's not forever. Do you think you'd move back to LA?
Very possible. Yeah.
Okay. So, what are we even talking about? And by the way, you don't know the person that you might meet. They might say stuff to you like, I've been living in LA, but I think in the next year, I want to move to Iowa. Oh, well, now maybe you look at grad schools in Iowa too. Add that to the, add that to the list. But what I'm trying to say is that it's really hard. It's so hard to plan life when you put the carriage before the horse.
Yeah.
And so instead, what I want you to do is anytime you have to have a difficult conversation, have that difficult conversation with your mirror or record yourself having it and just keep listening to it. Because essentially difficult conversations like this, which I don't think is that difficult, but let's just, that's your feeling and it's valid. You can talk to them and say stuff like, you can say to them in the same way that like you would tell someone my favorite color is purple. For instance, I have women who call in who say stuff like, I have frozen eggs. How do I tell a guy? I would tell him the same way in the same tone as I would tell someone my favorite color is purple. It's not purple, by the way, but let's just pretend it was. Right? So, like I'm on a date. I froze my eggs last year. That was a really interesting experience, but I'm glad that's there. I just feel a lot more secure now. And I can, I'm dating with intention. Like you didn't even hear it.
Yeah.
Same thing here, right? I love LA, but, I'm looking at grad schools in LA and outside of LA and, we'll see what happens. I really feel passionate about this and start talking now about the passion, why you even want to go into grad school, why you even want some student loan debt so that people see the passion before the sacrifice.
Right. Yeah, that's helpful.
This is a great question.
I think I think I am pulling the cart before the horse a bit. But it's, I just want to make sure I'm approaching everything properly because I'm sort of restarting this process, right? This whole dating process. So
I love dating restarts because it's such a great opportunity to like just practice things too. Even if you don't think there's like, you might go on a date with someone and within the first 5 minutes, you're like, absolutely not. Okay, but here's a person to practice how to have hard conversations. I'm not saying be vulnerable with a person that you don't like. What I'm saying is like, just try it out.
Right. Totally. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling in. Thank you for calling the Ask a Matchmaker hotline. How can I help you?
Hi, Maria. Thank you for your time. My question is more related to analog dating.
My favorite topic.
I mean, something that I really admire about you is, your boldness and how that comes across as confident rather than overbearing or pushy or anything like that.
Thank you. I'm going to make that my email signature.
But I am someone who I would say is more on the shy side.
Mm-hmm.
So, but a lot of your tips that you've posted over the years, they have helped me a lot with my confidence. But something that I struggle with analog dating is, like, how do I start conversation? Like, if I come across a guy that I think is cute in public or something like that, like, how do I don't know what to do in those situations. I just completely, clam up. I can barely make eye contact, So I was just wondering if you had any tips
God.
or
Are you
suggestions.
ready? Are you ready? All right. Here we go. Because I have the tip. First of all, do you think you're cute?
Yeah.
Great. So do you think these men that you're shy about are cuter than you?
Sometimes.
No, they're not.
No?
Like, have you seen men? They're all okay. This is a hot take. I feel like every couple, the woman has to be hotter than the guy. Even just mentally, just think that you're hotter than the guy because they ain't shit. They're just lucky to have a person. But that said, how to grow confidence the Matchmaker Maria way. You have to believe that every single guy you meet wants to fuck you. You're going to make that the clip, aren't you? Oh, God.
I just wrote good right as you were saying.
Yeah, that's literally the secret. Like, I still think this, right? I mean, I know that I'm not trying to do that to people, but I literally assume every guy I talk to wants to have sex with me. And it's just a confidence boost. And it's like it's so much in my subconscious that I don't even think about. I don't even notice it. It's just the low hum in my brain where every single person I meet wants to fuck me. That's it. That's the answer to it. Because if I believe this, that is literally that low hum frequency that I'm living my life on, where it's like, if I talk to a guy, if I were single and I was talking to a guy, I fully expect him to reciprocate me. And if he doesn't, then I'm like, oh, it's okay. I'm not into you. Like, just because I think that that's the low hum frequency in my brain doesn't mean I want to sleep with people. It's just my own confidence of like, you're so lucky that I'm even giving you attention. Let's see now if you fulfill the minimum requirements that I have for that to happen.
Yeah. Wow.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
You're going to make that the background screen on your phone. And you need to adopt this mantra. Because let me tell you, the moment that becomes your subconscious, it just makes like walking into a room so much more easier and fun. And like, you might start naturally flirting with people, especially since you're single and you can do that. Because it's like, oh, we can create this little rapport here because I believe that that if I said yes, it could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that the people that aren't interested in you, they're not talking to you.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I love that you're writing notes. It's as if this is not a podcast that you can like listen to later. The people that are not interested in you like that, they're not going to interact with you more than they have to.
Mm-hmm.
So It just cleans it up.
Mm-hmm.
This is honestly like the best advice I gave. I remember I can give you, and I said it to last summer. I had my trip to Greece and Paros, and I said this to all the women when we were in the ferry. They were like, "Where do you get your confidence from?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just assume every guy I talk to wants to fuck me." And the way it blew their minds, and it just changed everything. Like, so many of the women in the group were like, "That's it. That's the mantra." That became our group hashtag. Yeah. And, it's the way to live.
Yeah, that makes my mind is blown too. I've heard you say this before, but even just hearing it now, hearing you saying it directly to me, like my mind
You
is
should
blown
literally
again.
say it to yourself
Uh-huh.
every single day when you wake up. Like make it your ringtone. I don't know. Say it to yourself and make it your ringtone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm telling you,
Okay.
this is how you hack dating.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I will try that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was in a relationship with a guy for 8 months, went on 2-week vacation. The second month, it went great. Our families met and got along great, spent holidays together, talked about engagement at the year mark, and then all of a sudden ended with no indication as to why. Beyond shocked. How to get back into dating now. Planning to go to speed dating events, but what are some recommendations on what to talk to or someone about for only a short time?
Oof. So there's like the low vibration question there, which is like, how do I manage dating after I had pictured a whole life with this other person? And I just want to say that like it's okay to mourn that. Because there is a mourning period of you had relationship expectations, you had milestones that you probably had planned out, especially after your parents met, and now that's not happening and it happened suddenly and you probably have a lot more questions and answers. And I would tell this person, it's okay to mourn that. It's okay to take time for dating. And I love that you're thinking about going to speed dating. Let me manage your expectations of what you're going to probably experience and also how to have a really good speed dating experience. So the first thing you should know is that at speed dating, ratios do matter. And the people who usually host speed dating, especially for heterosexual couples, it's really hard to find straight men to attend these things. They're really struggling. So if you were to go and you want to bring a guy friend to help out those ratios, because it's, helping out the people that are in charge, that's like really good for the dating karma. Get yourself some more dating juju. I say this as a former singles event organizer. I never did speed dating events, but it's really tough getting those ratios for heterosexual dating. With that said, how to put a great first impression when you only have a few minutes. First, you're going to take that previous questions mantra into that event. You're going to literally repeat it yourself 1,000 times before you get to the event. And then second, you need to master the art of not asking questions as much as you can and just talk about yourself. Conversate. And if you don't know how to conversate, think about the last conversation you had with your best friend, or if you don't remember that, call your best friend and try to record that conversation and see what you talk about. You're probably not asking yourselves a lot of questions. Instead of you're probably teeing up the conversation between yourselves, right? You're talking about like how your day went, what you did at work, what projects are you working on, what are you passionate about? You might not be saying all this stuff with your best friend, but this is how I would practice, right? I would practice conversating as much as possible. So this way you have things to in your arsenal. Another thing you could do is actually ask yourself just ask yourself questions, like make a list of questions. So some of the questions I would probably put on a list is, for instance, what do I do for a living? If that's something that you want to identify with. I'd rather you not talk about work, but maybe what you do on the weekends. So you can, have these right now. Like, what do I do on the weekends? If I won $1 million, how would I spend that one? If I won $1 million and I had 30 hours to spend it, how would I spend it? What do I do on a typical weekend? What do I wish I did on a typical weekend? So have these 4 questions and answer those questions to yourself. And now you actually have some conversation starters for your interaction that you can play on based on the vibe that you have with each specific person. So you're not having the same conversation each time. You can say, stuff like, I have an icebreaker question for you. So yeah, you're going to ask a question, but I have an icebreaker question for you. You win $1 million. What are you going to, and you have to spend in 30 hours, what are you doing first? And they can tell you a little bit more about what they would do, and you could say what you would do. And now you've learned a little about something, but you're just trying to figure out if you vibed. The only way speed dating works is if you come into it with the intention of hopefully vibing with someone and not necessarily looking for what is wrong with this person. Chances are no one will pick you. But guess what? You just got an MBA in dating. You just went on 10 dates with men, and you got an idea of the fill of the buffet. And then at the end, think about the people that you did vibe with. What did you like when you vibed? What were they doing? Some of the things that I like to also, when I set expectations for speed dating, is that like charisma matters, right? And that's not necessarily a good thing, right? Sometimes the most charismatic people, they might have had to learn how to be charismatic because maybe they have, they're not as emotionally resilient. So they kind of call into like some narcissistic traits to get people to like them. So, just kind of keep that in mind, that like charisma is not what you are necessarily searching. You're searching on like who felt comfortable around you. Who did you feel comfortable with? And of course, wear green on your speed dating events. Although I keep hearing from women who go to speed dating events that everyone's wearing green. Maybe you wear emerald green. Maybe you wear a brighter green. I love that green theory has taken over these events though. That's awesome. All right, so that's that for this week's questions. Let me give a shout out to what's happening with the Agape team since tomorrow is Valentine's Day. It's like our birthday. Actually, no lie, Agape Match started on February 11th. So today is technically my company's birthday, even though I celebrate it in my mind. It's like funny. When I started my business, I first started like side, not even like a side hustle. I was just like, oh, let's have these cocktail parties where people drink wine and they network. And that was on May 5th of 2008. And then I started my company on November 30th, like officially, like I went to the, New York City legal office, whatever, paper, registered my company. And that was on November 30th of 2009. And then on February 11th, my website launched, like the following year, my website launched. So that like made it like, so before it was like kind of like side hustle. And then suddenly it was like, oh no, this is like a real hustle. So today is technically publicly Agape Match's birthday. So I want to give a shout out to the matchmakers on my team. And if you want to work with us, there are links in the show notes to tell you all the ways to work with us. So this week, because it's a solo episode, I'm going to just run down all the Agape Match links that you see so you can understand like what we do here. So first off, my team, we have Louis. He is a chief operating officer and one of our senior matchmakers. Some of you have probably done a dating assessment call with them. Some of you have not. So if you haven't, you should definitely check on that link. What is a dating assessment call with Louis? Well, you talk to him for about an hour, sometimes more, and he talks to you about your dating history, your chemistry analysis. He assesses what you've been doing and how to make it better. And I think that call, we get so much positive feedback every single day from people who have completed that call. And I just feel like everyone can gain something from having that one-on-one attention with Louis, especially because he's a man and he has like a different perspective on things than sometimes I do. Like we don't agree on 100% of things. So getting a little bit of me and getting a little bit of Louis gets you a little bit complete. The other person on my team, Chrysula, she's another senior matchmaker. She's been at Agape Match for 9 years. And she's actually my sister, in case anyone is wondering why we look alike. And she is a fantastic matchmaker. She really helps her clients. She's great at coordinating dates as well. But she also is one of our dating coaches. So she's a science-based certified dating coach, just like me. And we do Agape Intensive together. So if you want to work with me and Chrysula on a group basis, you would do Agape Intensive. This is something that we talk about in each episode. You probably heard all about it on my stories, but by doing Agape Intensive, you join a network of graduates, people who have completed the program. We have our own WhatsApp community, which, by the way, is broken down into more communities. So, we have graduates that live in Europe. We have graduates that live in California. We have graduates that live in Texas. We have graduates who are currently going through fertility stuff. We have graduates who like to do Broadway. So each of these graduate sub-niches have their own little groups within the graduate network. And it's so much fun seeing like how they interact. I know when this episode comes out, there is a whole lot of us, including me, that are going to be going to Jared Freed's show this coming Saturday in New York City at Town Hall. And I just know it's going to be amazing, but also we have that like sisterhood. So it's a lot of fun. So that's where you would see Chrysula. Chrysula and I run Agape Intensive together. And you can learn more about that in the show notes. Another matchmaker at Agape Match is Lucinda. She has also been with us for 8 years, and she's an incredible matchmaker. She is just really good at listening and especially like understanding when people have had difficulty in dating. She gets how important it is to choose a really good match. And, she is very invested in all of our clients' success. And I love Lucinda. And then another critical member of our team is Anna Maria. And Anna Maria is our community manager, but she's basically the database gatekeeper. So every person that signs up, she runs through their profile, see what's up. If they didn't complete it right, she sends them back an update link like, hey, you need to finish your profile and join back in so that we can have a full profile on you. If you are the kind of person who joined our database and sent us a group photo, she probably deleted your group photo because we're like, which one is it? And she's probably asking you for more photos. But she also helps manage our whole community, and she's awesome. She's been with Agape Match for almost 5 years, with us 4.5 years, which is crazy. So I'm really proud of my team. And then there's other people in the background that make this all work, like Teresa and Alex, who you probably heard on this episode, and Arthur and Tim and Natalie and Milan. And oh my God, there's these incredible matchmakers that we collaborate with, who I toast to every Valentine's Day. So many of them probably got our Valentine's Day cookies, but some of those people include Lisa Clampett, Bonnie Winston, Mahal, Lori Burzak, she's one of my best friends, Michelle Jacoby, Corey, like all of the Lisas and all of the Jennifers and all of the Corys, like all of our matchmakers in the Alliance who really make this industry so wonderful and unique to be a part of. They're just so great. They're just so great. What else in those show links? What else are we going to have in those links? Oh, and hello. Every summer, I host retreats in Greece, and this year is no different. I have 2 retreats happening. The first one is in Paros, which is June 22nd to the 29th. We have a couple spots left, and you can certainly sign up. If you look at the link, it'll show you the itinerary, so you can see what happens on day 1 all the way to day 8. The first day you land in Athens, then the next day we whisk you off to Paros Island. While we're in Paros, we visit Adiparos Island, Mykonos, Delos, which is the best. And then after 5 nights, then we head back to Athens, and we get cocktails opposite the Parthenon with the Acropolis. It's amazing. And then the following week after that, we have another retreat happening. And that is in Crete, and that is July 1st to the 6th. Here, you would fly into Chania International Airport. Again, when you look at the show, the show notes, there will be links to this, and you could see the itinerary for the Crete trip. But again, you fly into Chania, and then for the next 6 days, we're having the best week ever, and you get to meet your new best friends, and it's just a lot of fun. And I can't wait to show you Greece from my own viewpoint, right? Because I think it's different when you do group travel with people when all of you are foreign to the place, right? But then when you have myself or Crisula or Amalia, who's part of the Agape Escapes team, who I should have shouted out before, but she's part of Agape Escapes, not Agape Match. We try to provide some context to like what you're experiencing. And there's also a lot of pride that is involved there as well, too. So these are all the ways, of course, that you can interact with the Agape team. But of course, if you want to work with us, you would go to agapematch.com. You sign up, you make a profile, and then if you select that you want to be a free member in the database, fantastic. You can do that. We'll consider you as a match for a current or a future client, and we would contact you then to have a consultation to learn if you are a match for the client that we're hosting, that we are currently representing. But if you want to become a client, you select, I want to become a client. And then we would have a conversation with you to learn more about what your dating goals are and see if we're the right service. And if we're not the right service, we will refer you to the right service that is. And that is how you can work with me at Agape Match. I just want to say happy Valentine's Day, happy Galentine's Day to those who celebrate, happy Valentine's Day to those who celebrate, and, cheers to love. Be lovable, but more importantly, be likable. And I'll see you next week.